So all of the 10 X-Men 97 episodes finally dropped, and when I found that out, I proceeded to do my best impersonation of a depressed fat bitch, which was to binge an unhealthy amount of this shit all in one night. And when I was done, I thought to myself, yeah, the people that worked on the show must have been traditional housewives who were victim of domestic abuse on a daily basis, because these niggas were really in the studio cooking. So we start off with the X-Men searching for Trask and the Master Mold in the Sahara Desert, but while cruising in their jet, they get ambushed by a sentinel which sends them falling. But fortunately for them, they land safely, and look at this frame. One thing that I really have to applaud about the show is the amount of wallpaper-worthy scenes it has. Like, my nigga, look at this! But back to the X-Men. They finally find this dickhead Trask, and Scott tried to reason with him, but like a deaf person in an argument, Trask wasn't trying to hear all that shit. So he launches the Sentinels, and the X-Men proceed to participate in this display of violence. Next thing you see is Rogue pulling WWE moves on motherfuckers the same size as CBD buildings. For a second I thought I was watching a best of Randy Orton compilation. Right after that, she uses the head of the Sentinel she lay flat on the floor as a projectile. Had this nigga stargazing. The Sentinel then launched a beam directed to Rogue in retaliation, but Wolverine pops up right behind him to apply his unlicensed surgical practices. And we then get a look of this fight from a bird's eye view to illustrate the intensity of this fight. And when I saw this, I thought I had fallen victim to Kendrick's gaslighting maneuvers, cause I felt conflicted. The Sentinels are getting treated like rugs by niggas who aren't even a tenth of their size. So does this mean the X-Men are really like that, or the Sentinels are just like every episode of Uncle Grandpa? Pure dog shit. But that aside, we get back on the field and see Beast grab the Sentinel nigga by the foot, flip him like a pancake, rearrange his wiring, get inside of him, and then say this:
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful involuntary friendship.
I have a feeling that's what Bill Cosby said to all of his victims, but that aside, Beast must have heard the phrase "if you can't beat them, join them," and thought to himself, why not do both? Made the Sentinel fold his own brethren. We then cut to Gambit and Bishop, and the broskies were really cooking up. That's until the Sentinels threw Wolverine at Beast. Next thing you know, these niggas are cornered as more Sentinels pop up. But thank goodness the Chocolate Queen Storm pulled through with the assist in one of the coldest entrances in cinematic history. And if you don't agree with me, my nigga, I'm not trying to hear that. Go ahead and argue with the wall. Storm then puts these oversized toasters in a blender and turns this bitch into New Year's Eve. And just when you thought it was over, that's when the Master Mold stands up because he didn't want to feel left out since he hadn't contributed. But it was over for him the moment he stood up from his chair as Logan and Gambit pulled out this over-the-top extravagant combo. Gambit lit up Logan's claws like a candle, sent him flying with his staff, then Logan catapulted off of Morph on some Angry Birds shit. Body that nigga with one shot. So at the end of episode 1, it's revealed that Charles left Magneto in charge of the X-Men in his will. So as a result of that, Magneto is out and about saving human beings. The UN takes note of his kind gestures but still decides to put him on trial for his past actions. But when these saw that, they were like, nah, fuck all that, this nigga's a terrorist, but worst of all, he's a mutant. Kill him. So they stormed the UN headquarters and it was all hands on deck from the X-Men. And I hate to admit it, but this nigga the Executioner was really putting in the work on the X-Men. He ups the beam and blasts Gambit and Beast. Bishop then charges in for the attack, but this intolerable twat Executioner manages to run up the wall, hit a backflip and call up Bishop so he can't absorb the shot. Scott saw that and decided to intervene because no way that violation was solely motivated by the fact that he's a mutant. There has to be a second level of discrimination behind that attack. Scott shoots a beam at Executioner, he blocks it with a staff, then chucks that bitch at Scott's face, which knocks his visor straight off, forcing Scott to close his eyes, which leads to the Executioner closing in on Scott and smacking the dog shit out of him like a whack-a-mole. After that, he started frying Scott with these gut shots and punches to the face, and while doing that, he was speaking crazy. Shit had me tight. I sat there watching these punches from Scott's perspective, and all I could do was yell at the top of my lungs, Scott, fight back! Fight back, nigga! I really wanted to see this executioner nigga get his shit rocked, mostly because of what he was spewing, but I'll address that later on in this video. So Morph manages to get executioner off Scott, and shortly right after, Scott gets a call from Jean telling him the sperm they're about to keep as a pet for the next 18 years is about to be born. So he gets Rogue to fly him over to the hospital, which means there's 2 less X-Men on the field. And despite him being on trial and the X-Men not trusting him, they were short-staffed, so they had no choice but to get Magneto off the bench. Executioner then manages to get to the courtroom, and as soon as he arrives, he proceeds to execute his plan. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His plan being to strip Magneto of his powers. So while Magneto was distracted, Executioner charged up the shot, aimed it at Magneto's dome. Storm tried to warn him, but he couldn't hear her, so she ends up taking the shot on his behalf. And when Magneto saw the aftermath of that shit, he proceeds to pull one of the most I'm him moves I've ever seen. He takes the Executioner and the Council up to the atmosphere? Stratosphere, whatever sphere this is. He takes them up there just for the sole reason of flexing that he could kill them if he wanted. And right after that, he drops one of the coldest quotables in MCU history.